And the point being, there's nobody here, so the acoustics are wonderful. Great. I don't even need, no need for that.
No, you're allowed.
Great.
I'm going to see if I can get into Downing Street.
Yeah. Okay. See you
Right,
later.
see you later.
That's our Prime Minister. To be arrested, fined. So now I'm not a supporter of Boris Johnson. I've always been an opponent of the Conservative Party, but I'm coming here dressed fully respectfully for them today because I realise that this is affecting everybody in British society, and that the decisions that have been made, insane decisions, not based on scientific fact, have resulted in this kind of insanity. That the Prime Minister of the country has to lock himself away and pretend that there's some logic behind it, even though the chance of him catching the virus the second time is less than 1 in 100 million. Only 6 recorded cases in the world of transmission a second time, and all of them were asymptomatic except for 1 case. Let me just put it in context. There's a 1 in 100 million chance that Boris Johnson could come down with COVID-19 a second time. That's stretching it. There's a 1 in a million chance that you'll give birth to a 2-headed baby. So it's 100 times more likely that you'll give birth to a 2-headed baby than it is that Boris Johnson will come down sick with COVID-19 a second time. And therefore what we have illustrated by the circumstances of the Prime Minister of Britain behind these doors, who, if he walks out of these doors now, can be and should be, according to their own regulations, arrested by the police officers here if he leaves the house across the road here. That is how mad the policies have become. And I have been arrested 2 times in the last 14 days whilst campaigning to explain the truth about the virus, about public safety, and in particular the core of the problem, which is that the PCR test does not detect whether you are ill with COVID-19. The PCR test is designed to detect the presence of a virus or of components of the virus, or better said, remnants of a dead virus. Most people who are tested positive for SARS-CoV-2, the virus, do not acquire or you'll get ill with COVID-19. And therefore we have vast numbers of people, hundreds of thousands every day, tested for this test that does not work, and then tells half of them or more who are asymptomatic, have nothing wrong with them, cannot transmit the virus, do not come down ill, and they are locked up, and their friends and people they've met are also locked up. That's how we've ended up with a total madness that Boris Johnson is enclosed in his own room for 14 days at a time when Britain requires leadership in the country. There are no excess deaths. No excess deaths. So what is the entire panic about? It's a manufactured panic at the moment. I'm not saying COVID-19 isn't real, but there are no additional deaths now. We're locking up students, we're locking up nurses, we're locking up doctors, we're locking up completely healthy people and declaring that they're a danger and a risk. They are no risk. They cannot transmit if they're asymptomatic. You cannot even transmit if you're pre-symptomatic. So why are we locking up the whole country? Why is the whole country shut down? Why are these officers forced to arrest the Prime Minister if he decides to leave his house? And yet, when their rules are broken on their own or by themselves, by Dominic Cummings, that's completely ignored and he isn't charged with anything. We have entered a world of total and absolute madness. And then we have 2 drug companies who have produced not a normal vaccine. So this idea about denigrating people for rejecting the present vaccine is an mRNA vaccine proposed by Moderna and by Pfizer. These have been tested. The test they reported in the newspapers was a press release. It was not peer-reviewed. In the case of Pfizer, there were 94 people in this non-peer-reviewed press release justifying the government buying tens of millions of doses of this vaccine before it's even been passed. And then you have Moderna today giving another press release to push up their share prices and make billionaires out of nothing. And they only had 95 people in their test. 95! And that's supposed to be fact. That's supposed to be truth. And we're supposed to take this drug and inject our friends, family, parents, and their age cohort who die from COVID-19 is over 75-year-olds with comorbidities. There have been no tests on over 75-year-olds with comorbidities. So who are they trying to con? They're trying to trick us into desperately demanding a vaccine for which they are asking for immunity from prosecution if the vaccine causes illness or if causes death, and they're asking for emergency passing of this vaccine without the necessary standard, according to the American Center for Disease Control, 10 to 15 years of tests for a safety of a vaccine. And the last vaccine they tried out, and don't forget, was the swine flu vaccine. And all that was hyped by the World Health Organization and by Neil Ferguson of Imperial College. The same people are behind the same confidence trick now being pulled with no justification whatsoever to pretend we are all in some mortal danger from COVID-19 and SARS-CoV-2. We are not. Free Boris Johnson. Down with the lockdown. Only isolate infectious and sick people and let the rest of us be free. That man. Thank you very much, guys. See you. Have a good evening.